All right. Hi, everyone. Welcome to our 14th Skype session. Thank you all for being here today. As you know, we're Impaction, where action meets impact. And through these video sessions, we hear from innovators and entrepreneurs around the world about new ideas, concepts, maybe even ventures that can alleviate some of the world's most pressing challenges. I'm Shivani. I'm one of the founders of Impaction, and I'm just going to ask everyone to introduce themselves in less than 2 sentences. So, Roger, can you go first?
Roger, I work with early stage companies to get them rolling, and I'm out of Boston.
Awesome. Thank you. Tanvi.
Hi everyone, I am Tanvi. I am the product manager with Impaction and I am also based in Boston.
Great, thank you. Maribel.
Oh, hello. So I'm Maribel. I'm from Brooklyn, but based in DC. I do quite a variety of things, dealing with positive narratives of immigrants, showing the value they bring, as well as teaching social entrepreneurship to high school students through LearnServe's program, and I can say more later.
Awesome, thank you. Jacob, do you want to go next?
Yeah, my name is Jacob, and I'm a researcher with Practical Education here in Ghana, West Africa.
Awesome. Thank you. I'm going to ask Meghna to go. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Meghna. I'm the UX UI designer with Impaction, and I'm based in Des Moines, Iowa.
Awesome. And then Anand.
Hi, I'm Anand. I'm from Boston, and I work for NASDAQ as a data scientist.
Okay. Awesome. Yes, thank you all for being here. We've got a great group of people here today. Today we're actually going to ask Roger Hunt, the founder of Ideatrek, to host this session around developing what he calls as a 1-hour startup hack, how to build a social enterprise from scratch. So he'll show what it's like to come up with an idea, how to negotiate equity, produce a product, and bring it all into market in less than 40 minutes. So before we delve in, Roger, if you wanted to introduce yourself, go ahead, or we can just get started.
Yeah, I can just talk real quickly about what this thing is, and then we can jump into it as a kind of test. Well, no, it'll be a real run. We'll actually try to start something. So I run this every other week in Boston. We meet with about 5 people. We start a new company every 2 weeks, and then we just kind of see where it goes. A lot of people just find it helpful. I've also been running it with high schools and middle schools in the Boston area at an increasing rate. I've done 3 schools in the last 2 months. Students have come up with really cool ideas, and we can talk about those another time if we want to. But for now, I don't want to burn any more time. We can just kind of jump into this. So it starts very simply. We all are here now, and I say, who has an idea?
Great.
I think we talk a lot here about some concepts that are designed to make a positive impact in the world rather than necessarily going for profit. And so in this case, we can take stuff from previous sessions, or if anybody's got an idea, what are we going to do?
I have lots of ideas. I'm trying to choose one. I'm like, which one should I put out there?
Grab one. Just let it rip.
So there was this one came from a conversation from yesterday. So I'll go with my recent one. Well, it's not really mine. Where it's thinking about ways to make water accessible for future generations, which is it's a huge issue. So one of the ways my fiance, who studied environmental science, said would be a huge breakthrough technology could be to desalinate water in a more environmental a sustainable way. Right now, they have a method to do that, but it takes so much energy that to do this at a large scale would cause a new problem. So I don't have a specific product, but I know that idea of having a method that would not use as much energy and resources would be a breakthrough idea.
So this is great. So we run into this a lot of times with the hacks. Global desalinization solution, right? Which would be helpful all around the world. I'm sure, of course, we don't just go from nothing to global desalinization, or even nothing to the product or the process that's going to manage this global desalinization problem. So I guess one thing I just could sort of throw out here, I try to get as specific as you can. Suppose we desalinate all this water. What's one group who's going to benefit hugely from this? And it's kind of obvious, but let's just put it into words.
So
I would say,
go ahead.
was that a general question to everybody?
Yeah.
Yeah. I think most of the world's population lives along the shores in Massachusetts. So the humongous populations on the shores of China, India, U.S. Yeah.
Okay, so let's just because most of us are in the United States right now, I guess we could select a community. We could probably easily find a community in the U.S. right now who's struggling with finding clean water that's not full of all these nasty things that are going to hurt us. Does that seem reasonable?
Yeah. What about the residents of Flint, Michigan?
Flint, Michigan could be one. Yeah, they're certainly dealing with something right now up there.
Minnesota's dealing with something too, right? Having issues with access to water.
But if the innovation is desalinization, that would just be water purification rather than desalinization.
So that's a really good point. So providing a massive desalinization solution is going to be a big thing. So if we're dealing with the group, so now scale down a little bit, if we're dealing with the group in Flint or in Minnesota, or let's even get smaller, I imagine there are specific local communities that are dealing with water issues. Let's just say in Flint, let's pick one neighborhood in Flint and we can figure out what that neighborhood is, afterwards if we need to, but take our imaginary, not imaginary, but real small group in Flint, Michigan. They're dealing with an issue where they don't have enough clean water. They can't get enough of it right now. So we need to somehow get them.
I see what Jacob is saying though. Like what I think for Flint, Michigan, it's more about purification rather than desalinization. So we would have to turn to coastal cities, maybe in the U.S., who want to take it from a salt water to a freshwater conversion.
Okay, so and that's exactly right. However, the thought is we want to get clean water to a community. That's the overarching concept, whether it's desalinating it or providing clean water to somebody. And it seems like just in my mind, the desalinization process is going to be a highly technical one. And in order to jump into building a desalinization process, we're going to have to go raise millions of dollars, if not more, to be able to do that. And I don't know that we're going to be able to do that in 30 minutes. So let's try to. So if we can start with the Flint, Michigan, maybe the Flint, Michigan one is easier, or even the communities that are on the coast who are dealing with this issue, they also need clean water. So we can try to identify one of those offline. But whether it's Flint, Michigan, or Minnesota, or a coastal country, they're all dealing with the same problem of they need clean water to drink. So we need to figure out a way now that we can try to get clean water to any one of these communities. So and we can sort of think about this. Let's hold there for a second, okay? I'm going to share my screen right now, and we're going to start filling out this little board that I use to organize the companies, okay? So let's say we're running into somebody on the street, and they say, "Hi, Shivani, how are you? Who are you? What do you do?" And you say, "I'm Shivani. I work for Bringing Clean Water to People company." All right. And they say, "Oh, that's interesting. What's that?" And you would say, "Well, we solve the bringing clean water problem faced by, communities on the coast." Okay. We'll start there. All right. And then we say, and they say, "Oh, that's so cool. How does that work?" Well, our platform, service, product, whatever allows, and then we could try to think about, this might be what the actual offering is. So how are we going to get some kind of clean water, whether we're cleaning it ourselves or we just buy it at Costco and drive it down there? How are we going to get clean water to these people who are on the coast? They need it this weekend. How are we going to do it?
Does it have to be desalinization?
Not necessarily to start. That could be the goal in the future, right? That we want to have this massive desalinization program. But right now we've got people suffering, and we need to somehow get them some water this weekend. And that can be the jumping point to eventually getting to a massive desalinization innovation program. But let's start by getting some people some water, and then kind of go from there. We've got the end goal of this massive solution for the world, but we're going to start right now helping this one community that's on the coast. So how are we going to get that one community that needs some water this weekend? How are we going to get that to them? Any ideas?
I mean, hey Anant here. So I think it really depends on like the way that I thought about this problem, and the first initial step that I would do, because as it's the coastal region and I'm expecting the weather to be rainy, I would help or educate them about rainwater harvesting and somehow give them affordable kits for it, so that we don't really have to keep on driving them with like water supplies, and they might have some water supplies from the rainwater harvestation that they could use.
Okay, so we could educate them on rainwater harvesting. Okay.
I would connect with resources.
Connect them with resources.
Like, see if there could be something like, what's that called? Waves for Water. I would connect them with organizations like that, see if they can scale to this region, or connect them to companies like that, which is a filtration system. They started off as rainwater harvesting, and they realized that they still had the additional issue of it wasn't sanitary, even that water. It wasn't accessible to. So then they started creating filters.
Okay.
So it would be like a double solution. So like, okay, now you have this kit to collect rainwater, and now you're having problems with the rainwater. Maybe like 2 years from then, if it's not, if it collects some sort of bacteria or something that's dangerous, now you have a filtration system for it.
Okay. Is there any rain coming in our imaginary area by this weekend, so that they can have some water? And we don't know. We'd have to look that up. But would they be able to get these systems set up in, say, 3 or 4 days? Because they got to drink. Our people are thirsty.
Maybe not 3 or 4 days. That's a bit of a push.
Like how Maribel said, along with connecting with resources, we can instead get them the products that many of the startups have already come up with, like the eco bag or the eco straw, which kind of, and the bottle as well, where you put the dirty water from anywhere and it filters it out. So that would be, if I'm thinking about it, that would be the fastest solution at this point, without having to transport actual water.
Okay, so all right, so we could. Okay, so all right, so then in this case, our platform, product, service, whatever, connects, well, we can say connects, clean water companies to communities in need in some form or fashion. Okay. And then we can say our first clients will be, our imaginary, our coastal community. Insert coastal community. Okay. Okay, great. All right. So now we've got to somehow get this water to these people, and this will be our kind of launching event. So we've got the community down there. We've somehow got to. Well, I guess there's a couple things we've got to do. We've got to let those people down there know that we're going to be bringing them, or maybe it's not that we drive it down there. We just kind of tell them about this in one form or another. So I guess we got to tell them somehow. So what are we going to tell them? I don't know. How are we going to tell? I guess Instagram.
Yeah, social media.
Yeah, Instagram. Get up there.
Leverage their networks. The nonprofits or like the organizations who have these products. Ask them to tap into their networks. So that's somebody that we might want to cold call this week. All right, so local not-for-profits. Who else could we call? We got to cold call the startups, the clean water startups. Okay.
The community leaders or the decision makers.
Yep. Identify. Yep. Community leaders. Okay.
I would say also the media, like if there's a traditional media platform that is writing about this issue, instead of also writing about the problem, somehow persuading them to write about the solution we have, or the companies and nonprofits we're connecting them with.
Mm-hmm. So I'm wondering, maybe these ones are more marketing. Okay, so all right, and then the media would be over here too. Media sometimes costs money, but we'll pull off. I think the big one that we're gonna have to cold call. Well, so here's the trick: we've got to call these clean water startups, and then we've somehow got to get them to, one, get there this weekend, and two, hopefully do it not for any money, because we don't have any money to pay them, and I don't know that we're going to want to ask the local community to pay them for it. So we've got to somehow provide some kind of value. All right. Well, actually, let's work on this. Clean water startups. What were some of the ones that you guys mentioned? You all mentioned.
Shivani mentioned? Tanvi mentioned one that the bottle, which is that one?
I think the main straw is called Eco Filtro straw.
Eco Filtro straw.
Yeah.
The other one is Waves for Water.
Oh, one is called Day One Bag. Yeah.
How much money are we assuming? Let's say for the Eco Filter straw, you'd have to buy those in bulk and distribute it. Is that how we're saying we're going to do it?
Well, so this is the thought, right? We're going to reach out to all these companies, and we're basically going to say, hey, get down to this place and bring some of your cool stuff with you so that these people can drink some water. And they're immediately going to say, okay, give us some money. And then we're going to say, well, we don't have any money to give you. And so then they're going to say, well, why would we do it? And then we'll be like, because it's the right thing to do. And then they'll be like, yeah, I know, but that's not a good business for us. So now all right, that's the conversation we'll end up having with them probably. So now we've actually got to find some reason about why they would want to do this and go serve that community without us being able to give them any money. And this actually might go back to what the platform service does.
Well, we can say that hundreds of thousands of people can die if they don't have access to water. And also, if they want to play it sucks, but if they want to play the business card, then they can be like, this would be great, like, publicity for you. And like this can be like a good CSR effort if you want to play it that way. But
Yeah,
that makes me vomit. Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just saying that makes me vomit, but I guess we can play it that way.
If they say yes to the first one, all right, problem solved. Sweet, right? If they don't say yes to and then we just become a company that calls up these companies and says, hey, get down there, right? Get down there quickly. And then they say yes and they do it, and fantastic. But if they say no, which they might do, not anything against these people. I'm sure they're wonderful and everything. They're doing great work here, but they might say no. So we've got to find some other way to get them to say yes.
I'm just wondering why we can't do some kind of, like, why we can't think of generating some kind of funds for this if we're the middle person, because part of their business model too, if they're social entrepreneurs, is to try to make the good that they do sustainable. And if they make it free always, and they become, let's say they're trying to be entrepreneurial in some way, then it would be hard for them to say yes. But if we're the middle person that helps tie both the innovative product with the community, maybe we can do something like a crowdfunding campaign, or help them with finding a corporate sponsor. I don't know. I think there are ways to think about the money part if that's an issue.
So yeah, and I think we could definitely try to go out there and raise some cash, right? So crowdfunding is one. Do you have any?
We can ask them to like still having us as their middle points. We can still ask them to have like a 1-for-1 model. We can help them sell more of their products, and we can convince them that if for each one sold, they can donate one.
Okay, so it would be kind of like okay, 1-for-1 or some kind of CPA thing, so that we're generating funds for them, and then they give us the money, and then we give them the money back so that they can then distribute the supplies to that person. So yeah, so then we're donating our which is what we're doing. We're doing an impactful business, not a profit-making business. So that makes perfect sense.
We can also tap into, like, there might be some government grants which they are not aware of, and even the startups are not aware of. So we can be their, I don't know, the team that does research for these grants for the communities, and then takes that money and connects it to the actual startup that will help them solve their problem.
Yeah, and we can definitely look at that from an investor. That the only problem with crowdfunding and the government grants is we're not going to be able to get these people water by this weekend.
Right.
Those are more long-term strategies. We could, if anybody knows anybody that would throw money at this right now, call them up. So we'll just call, our angel.
We could do what that filter system did from a previous Skype session. We read about this. They had this very similar issue, and this nonprofit, I think it was, or NGO, gave out these water filters, and people weren't using them because they were free. So when they looked around to see, like, what do they value, they realized they did invest money in things that they saw of value, as valuable. So they did the research to see, okay, where, I think I'm mixing two of them, but we could do something like that, like do the research to see where are they spending the money in terms of water? Are they currently buying water bottles and drinking water from that? And if so, how much does that cost? And then try to have that product that we're connecting with much lower than the water bottles that they're purchasing. If they're already continually drinking water and buying water that way, then it's still helping, but in a way that they also see value in it and won't just discard.
Yeah, Maribel, you're talking about EcoFiltro, and that's right. We can give a discounted price for some of these, like some of the products that these nonprofits are starting or are launching and have launched for a while, but they could have a discount for these particular people who are suffering this weekend alone. And that would increase profit for them, maybe at a marginal cost. I mean, at a smaller
Margin.
profit. Yeah, smaller margin. But it would still be profit oriented and it wouldn't be completely free.
I have some thoughts too. Like coming to mind, and especially just from living in Ghana for a few years now, most of these issues are like addressed by two major things that both cost, I would say, just a few $1,000s, maybe 2,000 or so. And like boreholes, I don't know how common borehole drilling is in the U.S. It's because we've had the system set up for a while now. But boreholes, if you could have some sort of company or community group come together just for a few $1,000s, and boom, like it's just lasting water for a while. And also there's these water purification machines to produce like bagged sachets of waters that are in a lot of developing countries or developing economies. I don't know how familiar you guys are with that, but those are also business. People buy the machines for just $1,000, $2,000, and then people will buy the sachet of water for a very small price, maybe a nickel. So that could create a little economy as well, but it just would need to get started by some sort of donation by a group, and maybe they can be promised to have some of the profits from the very affordable water.
Okay.
Would these be available right away? I mean, especially in the U.S. Do we see them in the U.S.?
Yeah, I'm not sure. As far as the rapid purification machines, I'm really not sure. I think China seems to have a monopoly over producing these machines, and they kind of sell them to countries all around the world. But yeah, I can't say. And for boreholes, I feel like, I don't know, my mind is opening up to this now. Like a borehole, it can boom be done in a day. And it is done in a day. And so I don't know, but I've never heard of a borehole in the U.S. I know the wells, but yeah, I just don't know.
Okay. All right. So were all great ideas. While everybody's doing that, I found there is a place that this is not a coastal country in Martin County, Kentucky, which I guess has been suffering with clean water for a while. So just to kind of get off the board, we can do that. I also added in local businesses in addition to the clean water companies that we can start calling up and saying, hey, will you throw in $10 so I can buy 5 cases of water and mail it down to Martin County. Just as simple. And then so then we can, what's starting to kind of shape up here, it sounds like, is a little bit of a kind of a web platform or an app that we could put together where it receives donations. We can list the communities that are in need of water to just kind of call attention to it, which could then filter into our Instagram, Facebook, Snapchat, and community leader outreach way to get people to a website so they can see what's going on. So now we've kind of become this hub where it's not just one company marketing themselves as helping this one or these 10 communities. It's a hub with all these alien communities where hopefully we can get a whole bunch of startups to come on board who want to serve them, as well as local businesses who want to serve them in one form or another. And we can start doing government grants and crowdfunding from that. I think we have 10 minutes left, so let's start assigning roles. Who's going to cold call EcoFilter? Raise your hand. Who wants EcoFilter?
I will.
All right, Shivani's calling EcoFilter. All right. Who's gonna call Waves for Water? I think Tommy, you said you know them, so you're gonna do that one.
I think it was me.
Oh, I'm sorry. No.
Yeah.
Gosh, no, my bad. Well, okay, so you're calling them. We'll put. We'll talk about that stuff later. Who wants to run the Instagram? Who loves Instagram?
I can do that too.
I can do that too. Yeah.
Oh.
Tommy, you take. I will have Tommy do Instagram and Facebook. Now, this is the clever part. Who wants to do this on Snapchat? I have not figured out how to market on Snapchat properly yet, but if somebody can figure that out, that'd be amazing. Who wants to get crazy on Snapchat? Maribel, we can do that one.
Oh, I don't know. I don't even have that. No,
who knows Snapchat?
I could do Instagram, but not
Oh, Lord. I'll speak. I'll figure it out.
Okay. I'll work on the landing page and the app. Landing page / app, Roger. Okay. Let's see. What else do we need to do to get them there? We probably need somebody to run operations to actually get So, all right. So, operations. I don't know. I guess this would just be collecting this stuff and mailing it. I don't know.
I could do that, Meghna.
Meghna. All right. Okay. All right. So the plan is, it looks like, to get some water to Martin County. We're going to do it by flooding social media. And everybody, what you should do is, when you create the Instagram, open up the card here and add in your progress. How many followers are you getting? How many posts are you making? Shivani and Maribel, you'll have to give us updates on their phone calls with those people to see if we can get water to Martin County. We'll work on, if anybody comes across an investor, just tell us, and I will start building this website, as well as reaching out to everybody that I know to do this too. And the goal is, by next week we meet here, let's try have sent at least one case to Martin County. Down?
Yes.
All right. Okay. All right. Okay. So actually, another part of the hack would be, I'd actually start building that platform. It would try to be done through the course of the thing, but I don't really know how to do that virtually. When I'm in person, it's really cool when it happens, but we're virtual right now, so it's not going to be as cool, I don't think. But hey, look, we have a company right here that has a very clear directive, methods of getting it done, and we could start doing this literally tomorrow. And I think the point of doing this is to be like, okay, look, we started off with, we were going to solve the salinization problem around the world. And that's an awesome thing that we can eventually try to get to. But that's obviously not going to happen overnight. And it's also sometimes one of those ideas that it's like, I would love to start doing this. You get rolling on it, realize how complicated it is, and it just disappears. It just leaves, you just forget about it, or kind of hope that somebody else will take care of it. What we've got now is something that's actually, I imagine if we spent our week doing this, we could get something down to Martin County in one form or another. So we start there. We build up this momentum as this hub that's sending water to Martin County. We get people, we just list more communities on here. We try to drive people to the website through social media to make donations to help these communities. And now we're this kind of transaction process to get all this water to Martin County and these other communities. Maybe that sparks some sights in investors' eyes. It's like, hey, these people know how to actually deliver water to these counties. Let's give them some funding so that they can go to more communities. Let's give them more funding so that they can invest in these salinization processes, maybe integrate them into a university research program or something like that. So as we establish each individual stage throughout this process, we are more likely to get the funding that we're going to need to then solve the global salinization process. And this doesn't seem completely crazy to me. I don't know if it does to you. All right, so there we go. There's the hack. We did it. Woo!
That's awesome. So we would be able to do this all in like a matter of a day, essentially, right?
If we put our minds to it.
Yeah.
If we put our minds to it, right? And that's the end. That really is the end of it, right? We could plan like crazy. I think a lot of times we get overwhelmed with the scope of what some of these problems have to take, require to solve. And I think, Jacob's over in Africa right now working on this stuff. And so he's probably the extreme version of what it takes to actually get some of this stuff done, and not everybody's there. But at the same time, having the impact doesn't mean you've got to solve the global salinization process. You can have an impact on a smaller scale, and then over time grow it up with small wins, incremental wins over time. So I think that's probably the big takeaway. We don't all have to be Jacob. We need Jacobs, but we don't all have to be Jacob to be able to have that kind of impact on the world. And there's the hack, and we have a company, and whoever wants to join it, send me text me or email me. I'll add you to this board so you can put your updates of your activities for the week, and then we'll judge you at the end of 2 weeks.
I think it would be cool, just like for our reference. I know there are a couple of people who are either training entrepreneurs or are working with students here. So it would just be really cool to I don't know. I guess if everyone is interested in at least having access to this board, I think just let us know and let Roger know, because it might be important for your students to know as well. So that'd be cool. Just
Actually,
yeah.
you know what I'll do? I'll create an invite link, and I'm going to put it into the chat for the Zoom.
Perfect.
And then everybody can join that, because it's yelling at us for time as well. So, all right. So there's the link. Everybody can join the board. I believe I made it public. All right. Okay, awesome. Board's public. Everybody can join. Throw your ideas in there, and we'll see where it goes.
Yeah, the point of this is to create. It's from idea to execution. Now we actually have steps, and we've diluted the problem. Not diluted. No, it's not diluted. We've focused on the problem. So now there's tangible steps forward. So that was the point of this. Yeah, Roger. Anything else?
No, that's wonderful.
Yeah,
let's get rolling.
Yeah, awesome.
Well, I want to add some comments if I can.
Yeah.
So what I liked about this is how I can see if someone is, especially young people, youth and children, preteens, I can see them being really excited about doing something for a community. But once we get to some of the difficult work, like the human-centered research, understanding the users, researching the problem, that's usually where good intended souls get sort of tired and exhausted and say, whatever. I'm just exhausted from understanding this and feel like, what can I really do? The problem is big. So that's one thing that I thought about when I saw this process. But on the flip side, and the second note is, one of the reasons we try to understand the problem so much in most programs is because we want to do no harm. If we don't understand the problem well enough, it's easier to have many assumptions and move forward with a solution that is faulty. So I was trying to figure out, how do you mitigate that, or at which points?
So I think the way that you mitigate that is by reducing the scope of the problem as much as you can, so that it's almost like, in this case, we are just delivering water to this one community, whether it's us sending 10 cases of Poland Spring, right? We've brought it down to that low. And now as we start to scale that up, then we have to start thinking about a lot of those issues that you're talking about right now. And it's not that those problems or the issues, which are definitely going to become issues, will invalidate the entire business. Those are just challenges that we've got to overcome as we get to them. And I think a lot of times we talk ourselves out of doing anything because of the future challenges that are going to be business challenges that are going to face us down the road. And I don't think we need to stop working on something just because we're going to run into an issue later on, because we can eventually overcome that and challenge them. So this is where traditional business problems kind of break down at the earliest stages of company formation, where they don't affect it as much, but we allow them to affect it by dissuading us to move forward.
Yeah, I could see that very simply with water. It's a little bit harder to do harm, but things that are more of the social nature, like let's say college students, first year, freshmen in college, who are having difficulties actually moving forward to the next level. I can see more assumptions about those individuals from maybe a group of people that have absolutely no idea what those challenges are, their solutions being problematic, from the difference between someone that understands the issue, seeing, there's maybe a systemic or cultural aspect to this that we have to consider, versus someone who's maybe having more faulty assumptions, saying, it's just an individual issue only, where they just lack motivation or are lazy, aren't resilient enough, which don't dig deeper into why certain things happen. So I love the how quick you can actually get to action, but I also think about the beginning stages and the assumption, in terms of not just the problem but also the individuals that they're trying to help,
so it's
and what that looks like.
it's quick and it's a quick to action model, but that's the trick of limiting the scope. And so where the real struggle here is, how do we take something that seems so big and limit it to into as small as we possibly can, so we can test it under conditions where it's not going to, you know, destroy the world, but we can also learn a lot from that individual process. I mean, it's one where you're going to do like an Uber for delivering carpets or something, right? Before going out and actually saying, let's get thousands of people to deliver carpets to everybody, why don't I just go out and try to deliver one carpet to someone and just see what happens throughout that process, and then over time slowly scale it up from one person on. Whereas a lot of times in this, the kind of entrepreneurial space right now, people are already thinking, well, what if I have 1 million clients? Well, let's get one client first and see what happens with the business. We learn a lot more doing it that way rather than spending 5 years building a platform and trying to understand something when we might have already missed everything. Those problems and the other criteria that go along with it will come in. It's just we don't have to stop ourselves from testing it in the most limited scope as possible.
Right. Yeah. I'm not saying stop it, like stop the whole action. I'm just saying what do you do to avoid like going in with solutions based on assumptions that are erroneous, especially when it comes to people.
Not growing too fast.
Yeah, it's related. Not going too fast.
Not growing too fast.
Oh, not growing too fast. Oh, okay. Thank you. Appreciate it.
No, those are awesome questions. Thank you so much. Yes.
We have about 2 minutes left, so if anyone has any questions, if not, we can close up shop for today. Going once, going twice. All right. Thank you so much, everyone, and thank you, Roger, for hosting today's session and the first virtual 1-hour startup hack. We all learned a lot. I know, I mean, we're getting to that time where we have to wrap up. But if everyone could, for our viewers online, if you could check out our previous video by clicking this button, and then subscribe to our channel by clicking this button, that would be great. And yeah, just thank you so much, everyone, for joining us, and we'll see you in 2 weeks for our next session. All right, have a